Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 12. We are recording this on March 24th. I am one of your hosts, Justin, a.k.a. Nemesis Prime. And as you know, if you saw on my Instagram, I was in Dallas and I survived the tornado that happened on Monday. And I see my buddy Manimal is here, so I guess he must have survived St. Patrick's Day. What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, I bet my St. Patrick's Day was a lot more dangerous than your mild tornado in Dallas, for sure.
Dude, it was scary. I had to be put in the tunnels of the resort.
Oh no, the tunnels. Do you know they turn on the goddamn, like, we had the whole conversation, Justin and I, about tornadoes, because I'm from Kansas City in the Midwest, so I'm familiar with tornadoes. And so he was telling me about it. I'm not downplaying it. It sounded pretty serious, but they'll turn on the tornado siren and shit for like heavy winds, man, like just to play it safe. So yeah, it's kind of weird they did put you in the tunnels, though.
Let me tell you, I've never been in a hotel or anything that they've ever had a security message over the loudspeaker telling people to go down into the tunnels. So it was definitely an experience. I wasn't scared. My brother was with me. He's like, dude, you're not freaking out. I was like, oh man, I'm fine. The only thing is when I was down in the tunnels with all the other people, I was upset that I didn't have a drink in hand. Everybody else had like wine and beers because they all came from the bars and just went downstairs. So anyway, this episode, of course, we've been continuing this month for Women's Month. So we have a guest here today, someone who I've been following for a while. You know, got to give a shout out to my man, Justin, in up north in North Jersey, No Good Comics. He kind of put me on to this Instagrammer / TikToker cosplay person that we have here on the podcast today. We have Sade Paige. What's going on, Sade? How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So, Sade, where can people find you? Let's first go over with some of the social medias. Of course, we're going to be posting that as well in the post. But, you know, where can people find you so they can follow you as they're listening to this podcast episode?
I'm everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I'm on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can search WhatPaigeisIt and make sure you're spelling it with an I for page. So, yes.
Awesome. So Sade's here, of course. If you're checking out her Instagram as you're listening to us, she does a ton of different stuff. My favorite is the weekly Wednesdays with her tagline, "Let's get these new comic books," which is I'm just every Wednesday between that and getting to vote on which is my favorite cover on her stories is got to be my favorite thing on a Wednesday. It really gets me jonesing because sometimes I don't know I never know what the covers are going to be. So I always just go on Sade's page and say, yeah, this is the A and B covers. I know which ones I'm going to pick for the day. Wait, so that start off? I got to ask, how did that start off doing?
So they're not A and B. I literally go through and pick what I think are like the coolest ones out of like, what do they have? If they have more than the two options. So yes, it could be A and B. And then whatever I find to be more visually appealing and look nice together is how I will make the polls that way. And I kind of started it through trial and error. I was trying to figure out how to like share what new comic covers are available, but then I was also trying not to like drain myself because there's so many comics to share. Like even making the polls is like kind of exhausting, but I love doing it and it makes me so happy to hear everybody like looks forward to it. So it makes it worth it. But yeah, so I just decided to do call it this or that, and that's literally how you would vote it, is this one or that one. And it became a thing, and now it's part of everybody's Wednesday mornings. And people get mad if it's past 10 o'clock and it's not up yet. Like, I thought you weren't going to do it today. I'm like, I'm sorry. I got my life, or I didn't make them yet.
I know. It's like people think that you don't have anything else going on. Like your life revolves around this, right?
I know. Like, I'm literally like posting the stories like on my way to work on the subway. Like, that's like my commute is posting these for you guys. So, yeah.
So what happens if Instagram is down? Then people are like really wild. And they're like, I don't know what covers to pick when I get to like whatever
then you gotta go over to TikTok and YouTube, but mostly TikTok. And then I'm really posting over there right now. So I mean, I should figure out how to do this or that for TikTok, but I'll figure it out.
How's the service on the subway?
I'm mostly above ground, so it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's cool.
Where did I gotta, we'll kind of start our questioning for you here. Of course, like I said, we're bringing in a lot of female content.
Sounded so ominous, the questioning.
The questioning of, Zach and I both have different questions for you, of course, for this month, for Women's Month. So biggest question, how did you get into collecting, especially being a female?
why does it have to be just a female? I'm just kidding.
Wow, dude. Way to go, Justin. It's Women's Month, bro.
Yeah, come on now. Why does being a female have to do with it? No.
All right. So I guess I kind of want to let me explain myself. You know, obviously being a nerd, being a nerd in the comic book community, you know, I've obviously been doing this a very long time, reading comic books. So was that gentleman over there in Texas, and a lot of listeners, you know, a lot of males definitely ran this community for like the longest time, and we've been seeing a lot of change. You know, it's definitely been tons of people here, you know, females and everybody across the board. You know, Comic Cons was always just, sorry everybody who's out there listening, if you're a fat nerd and just, you know, you went to Comic Con, and that's what it was like. I remember that's all you saw. And it's very odd. And I had this conversation when we had Michelle Moonlit Comics, is like, my first real introduction to the indie side of comics was a girl that I was waiting in line with to meet, Jimmy Palmiotti, and told me, hey, you should check out this book, Saga. So women helped me get into indie books.
Yeah, it very much, I mean, you look at even like The Simpsons, the classic comic book guy. I mean, that is the epitome of comic book collector for when I was growing up as well. I mean, it was a fucking, I think I said this with Michelle too, it was a fucking dude fest all the time. Like everywhere you went with comics, it was a sausage fest. And don't get me wrong, yeah, it's fun talking comics with your buddies, but it'd be nice to talk comics with a girl and not feel like you're a total loser. So it's nice to see women actually part of the hobby as well. Like my wife is a huge fan of comic books. I mean, she doesn't obviously read and have a podcast like I do about comic books, but it's nice to see it. And it seems like it's, I don't know, something that's kind of been relatively recent. I don't know. It's a nice change for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hold on. What got me into it? So I first started into comics. Well, when you were saying about your wife, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but how your wife likes comics but doesn't read them. What's funny is that my boyfriend and we are like the reverse. So I like comics and he does not. And he's like all supportive of it, and like I try to get him to read things, but like he'll read and be like, "That was nice," and like puts it away, and like. We'll go to like certain like comic conventions, like not New York Comic Con, but if it's just to like buy, I think it was like Big Apple Con that happened here in Greenpoint over the summer. And I was shopping for comics, and then the guys were like, "Is he supporting you shopping?" And I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "This is I usually see the reverse, and I'm loving this." And I was like, "Yes." So, but yeah, but I first got into comic books actually about 6 years ago. So fairly new. I went to New York Comic Con for the first time. It was when my boyfriend and I first started dating. Neither of us ever been. I never even knew it existed. And he's like, "We have to go to this thing and we're going to dress up." And I was like, "All right, cool." And he goes, "We're going to go hard though. We're going to cosplay." And I'm like, "I don't even know what this is." So then he tells me he wants to do Star-Lord and Gamora. And I was like, you would want me to be the most painful thing to do for the first time ever.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I ended up nailing this outfit. We looked so good. And like at the time, like he has like a bigger beard now, but he definitely looked like Star-Lord at the time. So it was like a great perfect match. And then I think what got me into the comics actually was we went into Artist Alley and I found a watercolor artist and I was just obsessed with her work. I think her Instagram is Carlations, and her name is Carla. I don't remember her last name offhand. And then but I wanted to learn how to do watercolor painting. So as I was learning, I saw somebody do a fan art of Lottie from Snot Girl. So I'm like, what is Snot Girl? And this is a comic book. And so basically this is how it happens, a spiral effect. So then I picked up Snot Girl from Midtown Comics. And when I went to the comic book shop, like what's funny is I've seen the Times Square location so many times. Like I worked in Manhattan. I'd walk past that store all the time. I think I knew in the back of my mind it was a comic shop, but I never went in until I wanted this book. And it was very intimidating to go in there. And like when you're like one of maybe 3 girls that are in that store, and I like asked somebody that worked there, got my book, or ran out of there, and then I was like hooked. And then I was realizing like how many more stories there were outside of that. So then I was drawn more towards indie comics because I felt with like DC and Marvel, there's so much, and I don't know where to start. So with indie, it's always like starting at 1 basically. So and a whole new storyline. So that was easy for me to jump in, and I would judge it by kind of what the cover looked like. So yeah, that's how I started collecting.
No, it's cool. I mean, that's the truth with, we talk about that all the time with Marvel and DC. You look at it, Batman at 1,000 issues. I mean, as you're like a new collector, obviously Batman's an easy one to jump into, but some of these books have so much history and these characters are so old and, convoluted at times as well. It's the indie stuff provides that easier jumping on point. So
definitely. I will say though, I started reading DC Comics stuff now thanks to No Good. He got me onto Nightwing. If we don't know his obsession,
Yes.
I definitely do now. I'm obsessed with Nightwing. I'm like used to know like of the character. I just knew like everybody loved his butt, and it was nice with some nice drawn booty, I must say. And but I started reading it, and I'm like, Tom Taylor, you have changed my life in more ways than one because of this book.
Oh yeah, Nightwing is by far my favorite DC character. So I love Dick Grayson's the best.
Oh yeah. Down. Have you read the crossover yet with Son of Kal-El?
So I'm gonna be honest, I kind of stopped reading the ongoing Nightwing around issue what just came out, like 88 or something. I think I stopped around
89 or
I think I stopped at 81. I wasn't really digging the whole blockbuster Bloodhaven stuff, and I did like his three-legged dog he picked up.
Oh my god, so cute.
Yeah, but I need to go back. I really enjoyed Nightwing. I just was reading so much other stuff. It kind of fell by the wayside, but it wasn't really for any other reason than just like that. It wasn't like I disliked it by any means. I love Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, being a huge Bat Family guy, I have literally all the Bat Family on my arm. There's
my god, I love it. That's so cool.
Batgirl, Nightwing, my Batman, and then on the back I have Red Hood. So literally like the whole family minus a Robin, because I don't know which Robin I want to get.
What about Spoiler, dude?
Well, yeah, and Spoiler and Cassandra Cain and
like. I mean, you could just do like the comic and put all of them on you, so that way you're not missing out.
Yeah, I know, but I have a professional job. I don't really want to go all the way down. Like, here is good.
You have the other arm?
You just have all of Detective Comics 1027 down your arm, where it's the whole new team.
There's way too many characters to get into, like Duke Thomas, and now like
you gotta put the signal on there.
Clown Hunter. Like I want Clown Hunter.
You can have it go down your back. Since you have it go on your shoulder, just have it go backwards, and then nobody's gonna know at work.
Exactly.
Unless you already have a big piece on your back, then I can't help you with that.
Yeah, no, nothing crazy. But yeah, tattoos are definitely something that I like. But so Sade, especially, you said you were into like indie comics. What is like kind of something that you're currently reading or something that you've enjoyed like over the past year, like other than like DC? Because here on the podcast, Zach and I were always talking like Marvel and DC, and I think like getting a perspective of an indie world, and that's something that I think is a great way to jump on, especially in new comics when people don't know where to go, is indie, because it's a brand new world. There's no previous storyline. There's no like, oh, you need to know the past 10 years of this character. So what's something that I guess you've been reading that maybe our listeners would like to be checking out?
So outside of Saga, because I am like halfway through the compendium right now, I have been reading, I will say my favorite horror comic is Something's Killing the Children by James Tynion. If you guys have not read that yet, I highly recommend. The SparkNote version. Basically, these kids see monsters and they actually start killing the kids, but the parents can't see it and they don't know the whole town has no idea what's murdering these children. And then this girl Erica comes in and tries to save everyone, and it's like a whole other like world for where she comes from for that. And then House of Slaughter is an extension off of that too, which is new from him. I think it's got to be 5 issues in by now.
Yeah, I think 5 just came out. Yeah,
and then
just kind of like the prequel with Chase.
Yes, and then The Nice House on the Lake, also by James Tynion, is really good. Have you read that, Justin?
You know what? That's the one series everyone keeps telling me to get into.
I thought you were reading it.
I have like the first 2 or 3 issues, but I just haven't gotten into it. I'm reading like so many other indie books, and it's just for whatever reason I don't know. I just can't.
I feel like it might be a book. Actually, you can wait until it comes out and then read it all together, because it was kind of like there's so many characters. Like weekly or like the week or the monthly. Yeah.
I asked him before, and basically like each character is how many issues there will be for this story. And also when I interviewed him, he said that Walter, the guy that brought them there, is actually based on him. So we get to learn more about his psyche. So I'm a little nervous.
The recent issue was kind of was weird. The one that came back from the break here. was it issue 6, I believe.
I haven't read that one yet, so I can't.
Oh, okay, it's different. It's kind of changes the story on its head a little bit.
Oh boy! All right, I might read that tonight.
How did you? So that was a question. That obviously you were a great segue into our next topic. So you said you got to interview James. Like, how did that come about? And of course, if anyone who wants to check it out, go to Sade's YouTube. It's on there. But kind of talk about that, because that's got to be amazing. Because I remember James when he was doing the kind of the backups of Batman, and then he did the Talon story for DC, and now he's just blown up and doing everything.
Oh yeah, it's insane. And like it's wild to think too that like also Scott Snyder is what taught him how to do comic book writing, and he's just like boom after that. So but yeah, so I had a friend that was doing signings for him, and he invited me to come help and like organize books for him to sign, and he said that I could interview him while we were there. So I brought my little camera and got to ask him a few questions. I did it like kind of incognito style of like what questions my audience would want to ask him if they got to talk to him, which is kind of how, if anybody notices, like how I do things or get information, what you want to know is I'll be like, so if you ever talk to so-and-so before I get to ask them anything, like what would you want to know? And that's how I got my interview questions. So I just basically read him what his fans wanted to know. And then I think the funniest thing is finding out that when he was little, he was terrified of E.T. the movie. Like that was scared him as a child. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, when he's like in the field screaming, terrified me.
So yeah, if check out Sade's YouTube page, What Page Is It? You can see the full interview there, as well as some ton of other interviews.
So what else? I know you posted today actually about talk to us about the We Have Demons. Didn't you go there today to the comic book shop, or
that was yesterday? Yes,
yesterday.
So I've actually read that comic since October. I had, which was also surreal, is because that was during New York Comic Con. What Comixology for Scotttober, they were promoting all of that, and they even had like a booth for We Have Demons, and like Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder had their signings there. Yeah, he asked me at before New York Comic Con if I wanted to like read the issues early ahead of time and like promote about it, which I was stoked. And then we got to meet him at New York Comic Con and like go to like the Comixology party for it. And then so it was nice to like see him again for the signing and see the book actually in print. So like it was fun to see the whole different for the story We Have Demons itself, like going from digital and knowing, especially asking my audience like how split people are in this community between digital and physical. Like it's basically like 50-50. So everybody that was complaining back in October is all thrilled to finally have the book. I'm like, I already know what happens. Like I'm like, it's done. Like you can just read it and know everything. But it's cool. I got to ask like how he felt the progression with his audience and his fans are going to do with it going from digital to physical. And he mentioned how I think Dark Horse was like just hoping they would sell even just 30,000, and apparently they sold like 90,000 of the book. So it surpassed the company's expectations. So, and then it was like nice to see that how they're doing things differently for comics is still helping comic shops in general. Because I know a lot of people are saying like you're gonna like kill the shops, but like the way that he's doing it is pretty smart because you get to read it, see if you like it, then you can get the physical copy. And then I haven't opened it up yet, but I think I remember them saying it might be slightly different than the digital because they might do something with it. And then but yeah, it's pretty surreal to see how it's gonna go. I just like this new way they're trying to do it, so I'm here for it. But
yeah, we talked about the We Have Demons going to print, I guess, back in January on the podcast. It was definitely one of our articles, and both Zach and I we pre-ordered it. Yeah. And there was some other stuff that's part of that Comixology, like Jeff Lemire's got a book out there, and a couple other writer artist teams. And I remember reading about it, and it just sounded very intriguing. So, of course, Zach and I didn't read it from Comixology. I did pick it up, of course, this week. Picked up all 4 covers, and I know Zach hasn't read it because we talked briefly before. I loved it, and you know, Snyder's writing is always on point. Capullo's art is Capullo.
Oh yeah,
but it was pretty. That first page was pretty wild.
Oh yeah,
the opening scene is pretty wild. I was like, wait, what? This is how we're starting off this book? I was like, okay, I'm hooked. So don't want to spoil it for anybody, and I'm not gonna spoil it for Zach, but
it's not even spoiling. You can just say like you can literally get blood and guts within the first page. So
I'm excited. I I don't typically order like the different covers and stuff. And Justin gave me the heads up on this. And I'm obviously, I mean, you talk about comics and you talk about current, obviously modern writers and artist duos, and Snyder and Capullo, I think, are at the top. You know, I don't know if I really like Ryan Stegman, and on Donny Cates, you know, there's a little hit or miss here and there, but I mean that's they're pretty good as well. But I don't think anyone beats currently the dynamic duo of Capullo and Snyder right now in terms of comics. And so I was sold right when Justin told me it was them, and I got all the copies as well. I think I told Justin, I was like, hey man, they just did this is actually funny. We're talking about this after Tuesday night, a Peach Momoko cover, which I'm not a Peach Momoko fan, but I was like, yeah, I'll get it, you know. So I'm excited. I'm really pumped to read it. And it's Dark Horse too. I feel like we just had a conversation about Dark Horse as well. Like, yo, how are they even staying like in business? Because they don't produce anything new. It doesn't feel like ever. So I think that's a huge win for them.
Yeah.
And now, Sade, obviously you read the whole thing and you had the conversation with him as well. It's 3 issues, if I'm not right. Did he say like going forward, like does he expect a sequel, like a bigger universe, or anything?
No, they didn't mention anything about that. I mean, I wonder how it would go to that, because yeah, I don't think I can, and I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I don't know if they would continue on to it. There wasn't a cliffhanger for, I don't know.
Prequel maybe with the father. I mean, that's the only thing I can kind of say.
Maybe we should touch base on it after you read it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my god, now I gotta wait like 2 more months because if it's coming out monthly.
Or you could, you know, digitally read it and then we could talk about this sooner rather than later.
Okay. I will have to pop open the iPad.
The thing is about digital and print, like I don't really have an opinion on it. You know, some people are like, no, I won't read digitally, or I only read print, or vice versa, or whatever. And I think Justin and I are kind of the same, where definitely the past couple of years, my collecting has changed, where I used to get every damn title. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get the ones I want. And then I will read digitally the ones that I just actually want to read and not physically take up space in my home. But like, I prefer obviously to not read digitally if it's possible, but I don't have a problem with it at all.
I started doing it and even like asked for like the iPad mini for my birthday because I, you know, live in Brooklyn. My apartment's small. I don't have enough bookshelf space.
Right.
I trying to avoid. So I store my comics, my single comic issues, in acrylic cases versus the long boxes. For me, it's just visually appealing and better for me. I know people love their long boxes, so no shame in that game. But I don't have enough room to keep having these acrylic cases around. So I'm like, all right, let me do some digital. I'll buy single issues of like what I know that I actually love, or if I want to actually have it for a cover reason. And then digital is more for like seeing if I want to be into the story more. And also it's easier on my commutes if I want to read in the mornings versus having a physical book and worry about damaging it.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Transferring trains. So that was kind of like why I did it. It made sense. And then I'm trying to just buy trades more versus single issues because also it's cheaper. But also it takes longer to read the story. So it's also, I guess with digital, you can read the story and then get the trade and reread it again if you want.
I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to send you a link to, I'm going to find it here. This guy, I just recently, a couple months ago, I purchased, it's like a shelf or like an armoire, and it has built in, you can get it however you want. Mine's 8 short boxes and they're drawers. It's beautiful.
Oh, is it wood?
Yes.
Yes. I think you sent me that. You can send it again. But yes.
Yeah. And it was from Jersey. Like the dude shipped it all the way down here to El Paso.
Dang. You have that set up?
Yeah. It's badass.
Oh.
I love it. It's beautiful. And it just, I mean, it's, you know, you need something to put your TV on anyway, and you just, boom, put your comics right there.
That's true. I would have to get rid of furniture to get that piece of furniture. So maybe the next apartment.
I'll send you the link.
Yes, please. Somebody did send me it, but I definitely lost it, I think.
So Sade, you are also a cosplayer, and you, like you said, you and your boyfriend did the first cosplay at New York Comic Con. Especially for 2022, and some of them are, I the one TikTok video that you did, you're like, this is how I used to cosplay, and this is how I cosplay now. It's pretty badass, because that's usually what you see. You see the beginnings, and you're just like, I can't do this. And now, some of those newer ones like the Punchline, Mira, Spider Gwen, just on point. For 2022, what do you have planned?
Oh God, I don't even know. Like I every time I do a cosplay, I'm like, how do I top the next one? And then that was how I felt for Comic-Con. I'm like, well, I guess I could just keep going and see how it plays out. But I mean, yeah, Punchline, I did her right when they announced it, and it was right when COVID hit. That I bought everything right on time before I couldn't get anything shipped to me. So I was able to do that for fun. And then I was thrilled to do it at New York Comic Con this past year. And also, too, being able to take a photo with James, because that was his character. Yep. So, and he loved it as well. But yeah, so I don't really know what I have planned next. I think maybe Poison Ivy, because I've done Catwoman. That was a Halloween costume, but it still counts. I've done Catwoman, Harley Quinn, and then Mara, thinking of like DC. And then I think I want to try out a Poison Ivy. And that might be the next project. And then the Spider Gwen that I did, I literally did that cosplay on purpose for the event that I went to for that. So in the city, we have The Edge. It's by Hudson Yards. And you literally go to the edge of this building, up top to the roof, and you see all of New York City. And we went at like sunrise. So I got up at 4:00 in the morning that day to go to that. Totally worth it. And so thankfully they had a bathroom there where I could change, because I didn't want to be dressed up as Spider-Gwen on the subway. Because like, one, the gloves do not come off, and two, like the subways are already weird at a certain time. I didn't want to find out the hard way at 4 a.m. But yeah, so, and the photos came out great in the video. Like, it surpassed what I thought it would turn out. So that was fun. And I had to do some DIYs on that. But yeah, cosplaying's been a blast. I don't know what one my favorite one was. I think Pink Ranger was probably really fun to do at Comic-Con, because then everybody kept singing me the theme song. So that was great.
So how do you decide? Like, is it maybe you read a book and you're like, damn, that's a cool character? Or do you go, I'm feeling like a horror theme, I don't want to go a little scary here? Or do you go like, oh, okay, I want to go something a little sexier? Like, how do you decide what you're going to dress up as?
I want to get all the clicks. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that works. Hey, whatever
fine.
works.
Listen, that's the answer. That's the answer. Yeah. Make it rain with money.
Yeah, hell yeah. No shame in the game at all.
No, I'm just playing. I really don't plan it out. I'm really not that good at planning it out that way. Like, sometimes it comes on a whim, or I'll get ideas from friends. Sometimes it could be based off a book, or even some artist's interpretation of the character. I'm like, I want to do it that way. Or however, like with Punchline, like something about her, like, because obviously with Harley Quinn, she's fun, she's weird, she's goofy, and she's like cuckoo la. But then like Punchline is obviously like very polar opposite, where she's more like, she's cuckoo, but like she's more psychotic and maniacal in a sense, but also like in a sexy way, differently than Harley Quinn's sexy way. I don't know. So I guess whatever I find attractive of a character and try to do it. But then also, when I chose to do like a girl version of Hellboy, I just apparently lost my mind that time and thought that'd be a great idea. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those where they changed the genders.
Yeah,
I think Baltimore Comic-Con years ago, I went, and I can't remember who, but I remember seeing a female Hellboy, if you want to call it Hell Girl. And that's always cool, because that's the same thing. Like, even artists, like I'm a big art guy. Zach's a big story guy. So like, when I see like the gender swapped characters, especially like when people do commissions or artists just do them for prints, like sometimes it's just a different take on it. Like, if you've seen, like, I've seen like when they do all the Robins, like in female versions, so they'll take Dick, Damien, Tim, and switch them all around, and it's like cool to see that as like in a different genre. And I know that's something coming up in DC Comics. They're doing like this the Young Justice Dark Crisis crossover, and it's all like female led characters. of the sidekicks. So
I think I do want to try doing like Nightwing as like a girl version, just to try it out. I don't know how well it'll go, but I mean, no one's mad at a tight suit anyway, so.
Well, throw some love to the Marvel side as well.
Gotta give me. Well, who did I had somebody? I did Gwen.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't enough. I'm so sorry.
I equate that Justin's a DC guy, and I equate Spider-Gwen with Justin because he's also a diehard Spider-Gwen person, and so.
Oh my god. Okay, give me some Rex because honestly, I'm like confused on what to do. I do go kind of heavy on the DC cosplay.
Let's see. I want to make it tough. Make it hard.
Oh friggin'. Hey, I always think Gamora. That's Marvel.
That is good. That's good. What about? Okay, I'm looking right here at one of my books. What about Alejandra Jones, the female Ghost Rider? Do a Ghost Rider. That'd be hard.
How am I gonna flame Photoshop?
I have no idea.
They have Photoshop for that. I've seen that like on Instagram.
You probably got like a Snapchat filter for that shit.
Yeah.
I know how to edit video in Photoshop, so I could make it work. I can do that. It's not that bad. But yeah.
She's like biker badass too.
Oh, and I did. Hello. Do we not know who I look like? Kate Bishop coming
That's
at
true.
me
You
over
nailed
my
that
Marvel
one.
girls. You
did nail that one.
Yes, because I look like her. It was easy. That was the easiest cosplay makeup I ever did in my life.
Yeah, I remember. I saw those when the show was on. That was definitely you got it right on with the jacket and everything.
Oh yeah,
Perfect.
I got that off of Poshmark. It was great.
Simple. Yeah. So Zach, you have one more question before we get over to our articles for today?
Yeah. So kind of to round it out, and obviously, like Justin mentioned before, it's Women's Appreciation Month here in March, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, and we asked this for Michelle from Moonlit, but how is it being a female in the comic book community? How's that been for you?
It's not the easiest. But I mean, I think what I dislike about it is where I feel like I'm quizzed to like comics, especially if I'm even in the shops or when I get messaged or even on TikTok, people will be like, oh, do you know this? Like, I enjoy comics. I don't see why I need to show you how far I need to know for you to respect me for being into the comic world. That's the part that I don't like. But I feel like that's like with any industry for a woman being interested in a more male-dominated space. But
it's pretty obnoxious, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like something that no matter what industry, that's what we deal with, period. But otherwise, I mean, I've had no one being completely negative. I've had creeps slide in the DMs, but otherwise, I mean, I'm meeting great people, and so I'm not mad about it. There's some great gentlemen in the community, so I can't complain too much.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we also get quizzed as well from, like Justin said, all the dorks out there as well. And they always try to outdo you. And you're always going to. Like, there's going to be something you don't know, like.
Especially when you're recording live and then people, once the video posts, and then people are like, well, no, it's this. Well, I'm sorry that like my brain is thinking about a million things
while
at
I'm
once.
Talking,
Yeah, like I'm sorry that I misquoted like the issue number of it's not Batman 11, it's Batman 12. You should know.
See, you're getting quizzed on like some higher stuff that like maybe I don't know, but they'll be like, so how much do you know? Like, do you only know like Catwoman or Harley Quinn? I'm like, I know who Punchline is. They're like, oh, okay, you're in. I'm like, okay, that wasn't that far deep, but sure.
Their levels weren't super high, right? Like,
I think their expectations were really low, and like
you're in.
What that low expectation was. I don't know. It's funny.
So let's get on to some of the articles for today. And of course, having a guest here is always fun because then, everyone gets to hear their thoughts on some of these topics. So interesting enough, we had Sade told us she was one of these as a cosplayer. And this is a very interesting article. So over at CBR.com, we got Godzilla vs. the Power Rangers is a new comic that just got released. And in case it was a title that you didn't think you want, but you wanted a team up, you got Godzilla and, of course, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers coming from Boom Studios. So this is I would say it's almost like the third or fourth time that we've seen this crossover between especially two different companies. It started off with Batman. They had the Batman Ninja Turtles back in 2016. We've seen also the Transformers.
Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles.
Huh?
Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles also.
Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles. We've seen Transformers and the Ghostbusters. We've seen Transformers and Terminator was not too long ago. And now we got the 90s Power Rangers meeting Godzilla. So very interesting crossover. They do have a cool little trailer over on the website. But of course, writer Colin Bunn and artist Freddie Williams is depicting the Sentai-inspired team to battle the most popular giant monsters in the world. So quick little background. You got Rita Repulsa, who's using some ancient artifact, transporting her to a universe without the Power Rangers into a world with aliens, kaiju, and Godzilla, hoping to annihilate her newest foes. But of course, the Power Rangers follow, and them pitting the Dragonzoids against the King of Monsters. So, Sade, what do you think about this crossover that just got released this week?
I wish it was a show. I would totally watch that. I saw that cover and I was like, all right, I'm here for it. I didn't pick it up, but I think I might read it anyway. But I mean, why not? It sounds fun. And it kind of makes sense with like their dinosaur things.
The dinosaurs, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, the Dragonzord is pretty much a ripoff of Godzilla anyway, right? So I'm a huge fan. I read all the Boom Studios Power Rangers universe, and it's one of the best like ongoing. People have heard me talk about it. I love the TMNT current run. I think is amazing, and I was never a massive Power Rangers fan like growing up. I mean, I liked them. I watched a little bit here and there, but the comics that have come out in the past decade or so now are just awesome. I mean, they're so good, and you know, these little crossovers are fun. I didn't read the Power Rangers Justice League or the Power Rangers Ninja Turtles, but I did read the Batman Ninja Turtles, and it was super awesome. They did like three like miniseries of that. I think it was like, Batman 1, 2, and 3 of that for TMNT as well. So it's cool, man. I mean, it'll be great to see the Dragonzord go up against Godzilla. I think the dialogue might be a little low between the Power Rangers and Godzilla. I don't really know how that's going to work out, but I want to see the Green Ranger control him with his little flute dagger as well. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah, I read the first issue. I thought it's good. I like it because Freddie Williams II is the artist. He did the art on all 3 of the Batman verse or Batman Ninja Turtle lines, of course, and James was the writer on those, so they were really awesome to read. Then they also did like the Batman Ninja Turtles Adventures, which is more like kiddie-ish, but Freddie's art is amazing to see. And like you said, it is like Dragonzord is a complete ripoff of like Mechagodzilla. Right. So it's really just battling like from the past. But I thoroughly enjoyed the issue, and I think this is going to be a cool miniseries. And if they stick with it, like you said, Zach, you know, Power Rangers it's completely changed in the world of comic books. I think really what was it? I think Kyle Higgins, when he took that over years ago, he really made like the Power Rangers where they are today. And you know, it's had a crazy cult following, you know, even here on the East Coast, like Jason David Frank was actually just here at one of the shops a couple weeks ago, and then one of the Red Rangers from one of the series. So like they're always traveling around, and people will wait in line forever to meet any of these Rangers because people just have that like longevity of the character.
JDF stays like booked, bro. Like that guy's always booked for cons. We had down here in El Paso, they had Rocky, the guy who played the second Red Ranger. Okay. And he came down here, and I remember talking to him like the day, I think did an interview with him, and he was talking about how he went out partying and got like completely shit faced in El Paso the night before. He was all hungover. And he smelled of booze, but like, good for him, man. But yeah, dude, JDF is always like at every con, like as the Power
dude
Ranger.
Too. Like his lines are always packed, and he literally spends as much time as he can with the fans, which is really awesome.
That's cool.
Do you remember that story was it in Arizona at the con he went to, and some guy tried to attack him? He beat the shit out of him. Like,
no.
Yeah. Oh God. And they had to some dude tried to attack him. And it's like, hey dude, this guy actually knows karate. Like it's probably a really bad idea. And JDF like took him down, man. I'll have to find it.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up after the show. Zach, do you want to get into the article that you and Sade found just prior to us going live that we need to talk about?
So I'm going to take the easy route, which is just read the awesome headline, and then I'll let Sade talk about it. So coming from Bleeding Cool, we have an article with the headline, Todd McFarlane puts foot in mouth about female action figures. So Todd McFarlane recently took part in an interview last week with popular popular action figure reviewer and YouTube personality Shartimus Prime on his channel, where they covered a variety of subjects. There was a segment of the interview that has rubbed people the wrong way all weekend when discussing female action figures. So I read just briefly the article, but even talking about it before the show seemed like Sade knew way more about it. So why don't you kind of explain to us what happened here?
I mean, I just watched the video. Yeah, so the spark note of the video was where he was just saying why he doesn't think he can sell female action figures as well as the men's figures, and how like he won't do like a 4-figure female drop. And then the part that I'm sure everybody's just like, what are you trying to say, bro, was he said, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's true or not, but at a certain age serial killers kind of get formed. And I was like, you think a little boy playing with an action figure that's a female is going to make them become a serial killer? You have not listened to enough true crime podcasts, sir. Let me introduce you to a few, because I'm pretty sure it's like way more than that, sir.
Maybe also don't create action figures if you think it's going to lead to serial killers in the universe. Like maybe just stop that.
The boy action figures like kind of way more violent looking anyway. Like I'm just saying. Yeah. And then he was saying like how like a boy would be disappointed to receive a female action figure versus like a robot or a dinosaur or like a superhero that's like a male. And then even in the comics, somebody, I was laughing at the comment section. Somebody was like, yeah, I got my first female action figure and the bloodlust has never been quenched since. And I was like, he gets it.
Yeah, this guy's comment on Twitter, he says, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Todd McFarlane, a boy getting a female superhero figure as a gift immediately makes you do a serial killer comparison? As a kid, I got Rogue, Jean Grey, Phoenix, etc., and I haven't killed anyone yet. God, I knew you were a tool, but this solidifies it.
Dude, it was wild.
That's like that. It's terrible because especially I was action figure fan growing up when I was young, and I literally did all the whole Marvel line. Like you need all the X-Men. Like, what are you just gonna get? Just the guy X-Men? You're not gonna get like you said, like Jean.
The girl X-Men are like the coolest ones too. Like what the hell, man?
Like I can't imagine like not, and especially most of the time here, it's like the people that are buying the toys, especially like Target or Walmart, not really are collectors of. They're not really. They are collectors. They're not just kids like buying these toys nowadays. It's not really like. The action figures are always sold out because collectors are buying it. So yeah, if you had a girl line, then you could put them up and display them with all the other ones. Like I've seen, for the most part, I feel like he's only ever done like Wonder Woman is lines and a few of the Bat family when he's done them. But he's also, when he was talking, like Sade said about like the serial killer thing, didn't he come out with like the Movie Maniacs line and like that Hellrisen line back in the day under McFarlane's and all the Spawn stuff that he's done?
Yeah, didn't he create Vindicator or what's the fat clown? What's his name? Yeah,
the clown.
That's just terrifying.
So my nephew is like 5 or 6. God, I'm bad because I don't know his exact age, but he has like the full, like the old school GI Joe size. Like Marvel Avengers characters, and he straight up like was not happy because he didn't have Black Widow, he didn't have Captain Marvel, like he needed them all. And yeah, that kid may serial kill people in the future, but he
probably will because he didn't get those female action figures. That's why he got so angry that he couldn't complete the set.
We do call him Prince Joffrey because when he doesn't get what he wants, it's a little scary. But so yeah, but no, I mean, here's the other thing too. I mean, this kind of touches on the whole like women in the community aspect. Is like the community has to grow. Okay, you can't just keep doing things for the male 30-year-old white dudes out there and just like keep appealing to them. Like make an awesome female toy line and then bring young girls into the hobby, and like that's how you. It's a horrible business model, in my opinion, on his part, to be honest.
Because also, can I remember like with the company Her Universe, how they wouldn't make a woman's fandom brand to cater towards women. Like we had to go to the boys section to find the graphic tees. I still do. But like with Her Universe, like now they make things that's for women and girls, and even they have like the R Universe where it's for men as well, so it's more unisex, of more fun styles that cater to your favorite fandoms. And that business did so well that like even Hot Topic bought them. So I mean, we're gonna buy it. It's crazy. But yeah.
I'm a fan of her universe, and I'm sure the reasons why is because it's Ashley Eckstein. So
yeah, literally. But she was even saying in her book that she did a few years ago how she was told over and over that no, women don't buy fandom merch. Da, da, da. She's like, you're completely wrong.
Yeah.
And here's why. So, but yeah. And then something that he said too in his video, Todd McFarlane, was how he kept calling it the boys' toy aisle. I'm like, when have I ever seen it called the boys' toy aisle? Like, it's just toys.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm just like, are we okay?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't seen that. And I used to work at Target. This is going back literally 20 years ago. I used to work at a Target, and I could see it then. Yeah, there was like the aisle that was all like Hasbro, Mattel, and it was just, it was like, it was the boys aisle. I get that. And then the girls aisle had like the Barbies and then all the different other toys that I guess.
I feel like they definitely color coordinated it.
Yes. I literally can picture like the pink aisle.
Yeah.
Like that was 100%. And you go to like Target or whatever, there's the action figure side, and then you go to like the pink aisle.
Yeah.
But
now it doesn't matter. It's there's so many action figures for anyone to whether play with or, same thing. Like I'm a huge Spider-Gwen fan. Like I would want to get the Spider-Gwen fan. I would want to get any of the female characters, like in anything, Star Wars, the Spider-Man universe, Batman universe, whatever it is. Like, why does it have to be just how he could say like he can't put out a 4-pack of toys that are going to be females that wouldn't sell?
It's because he hasn't created a female character. He lost Angela. That was like his only female character, and he lost her. So
he's upset.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
All right,
poor Todd.
So let's move on to our last top article. Of course, next week is the release of Moon Knight on Disney Plus, and of course, we always talk about a preview before the episodes. We'll do a mid-season and final season review. So over at Screen Rant, this actually just dropped yesterday. So Marvel's Moon Knight is a blend of many different genres, says the director. Moon Knight director Mohamed Diab says the show seamlessly shifts between several different genres, including action, comedy, drama, and horror. And with that being said, we are going to be seeing a lot of stuff in the next 6 weeks over on Disney Plus. Now, I briefly talked about it, I think, with Michelle, and even previously. I don't know that much of Moon Knight, but I think, so far, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop was my favorite series. I watched that first 6 episodes, watched it, and then literally as soon as it was done, I needed to binge it and watch it again. I was definitely the most anticipated one. I think with this, since I don't know anything going into it, and exactly like the director says that it has so many different genres to play on, I think this is definitely going to be probably the second most anticipated show on Disney Plus past Kate Bishop. So I'm excited to see where this is going to go. Of course, we've been seeing more clips here and there on YouTube and the TV clips, and they've been showing kind of, I guess, what's being spec'd as Anubis. We all thought that we were going to see the Werewolf by Night, but Zach, what do you think about this coming out next week?
I mean, I'm a massive Moon Knight fan. I've been excited since they've talked about Moon Knight. I think he's a super, super cool character. I wonder how much like like the hard. I'm definitely not like a hardcore Moon Knight fan or like one of the OGs, if you will. But so I'm nervous a little bit to see how fans will take up on this. But I think Marvel's done like a really good job. Obviously, the whole split personality, the DID situation, that's kind of newer to Moon Knight. That's a more modern take on Moon Knight. The old school stuff wasn't really like that so much. He had these different, I don't want to say they weren't personalities, alternate identities back then. And so that's kind of a newer take. So I'm curious to see how, obviously the community can be very volatile sometimes when you mess up their favorite characters, how that all goes over. And they're really leaning heavy into it. But I do love, how the article talks about having those different aspects has allowed them to jump from like drama to comedy to horror to back and forth. And you can see it in Oscar Isaac's like performance too. I mean, there's the funny scenes, which I know, Justin, you hate Marvel's funny scenes, but I know I do too.
It's my comic relief I need.
They're so cute. And so Justin like groans when they say like a joke.
The Hulk.
He's just like over here crying every time something funny happens. But
every series needs to be the Batman.
Right, exactly.
Dark and gritty.
Just dark and no jokes at all. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I actually cannot wait. The 30th can't come fast enough.
Awesome. Sade.
I'm stoked. I'm not that knowledgeable on Moon Knight, but I did do some research, and basically, I think it's gonna be very like heavy on like the mental state of him, because from what I saw was that, not from the trailers but from researching, was that he does have, like you said, multiple personas, and he actually has 4. And they even said, like, because it started in the 80s when he first came about, but then I don't know what issues it was, but they started having it with all these different personas of himself, is that he ended up kind of getting so deep into it that it caused him to have like basically a mental breakdown, and then he couldn't differentiate. And then it's funny too, because even like in the trailer, the woman goes, correct me if I'm wrong, goes like, "Mark, where have you been? I thought you were dead." And he was like, "Why'd you call me Mark?" But then when they're talking about it, like, he's Mark, he's James, he's a boxer, he's a assassin, not an assassin. What is he? I don't know, kind of like a hitman. And then he's also like a millionaire, but then they're also saying, comparing him to Batman. So like, are we gonna think he's like a mentally unstable Batman? Basically, I don't know. I'm interested. But then like the cape thing, like the trailer, like how aerodynamic is that cape though? The thing. I just want to know, does a crescent moon cape actually like fly you well? I just need to know these things.
It's funny with characters like this. Obviously, they gotta do their own like merch kind of, but like, dude, was it really beneficial for you to make crescent moon throwing stars? Like, was that better than the throwing star? Like, isn't the throwing star, yeah, but isn't the throwing star the best throwing star? Like, why change up? Even Batman with the Batarang, dude. Like, what do you gotta
symbolizes him?
It's his logo. He wanted his logo to be his weapon, so that way that's his like business card when he leaves.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even look at Robin. Robin has the shurikens that literally is the Robin symbol. Like, come on, you're gonna tell me that aerodynamically that like is better?
How hard is that to make? You gotta like get the center of the R out too. This is not feasible, bro. Like, just order some shurikens, dude. Like a batch of them from wherever, and then just throw those.
So what do you, Zach? I know Sade knows more about Moon Knight than I do, and I've been into comics.
I literally watched that video like an hour ago, so I don't know how much more I know.
No, I don't know. Like, you already know a lot more than I do, believe me. Zach, I know you're kind of, again, more of a Moon Knight fan, and you know, what do you think about like the costume thing, like almost growing on him, kind of? And I said this in our private chat. It's almost like Spawn. Like, I literally feel like I was watching Spawn, the way his costume comes on, not physically putting on a costume.
It's like it almost has like a symbiote feel to it as well, kind of. Look, I don't care. But you know, I feel like it may not actually be that. Like, there's so many things. I kind of want to tell everyone who's like might be grumbling about stuff, is like, this whole show is revolving around his mental state. Maybe that's how he's imagining it.
But do you know what he actually is? Like, what that costume is?
So in the comics, typically it's just a suit. It's not like it doesn't come on him like that at all. It's like he actually, as a man, has to dress himself and put his pants on. But I don't know. I don't know if that's like their way of doing it, so it's a little bit cooler. It could be, you know, with maybe that's their play on like the Egyptian god and stuff. But it also could be another, you know, like I said, like a mental break. Yeah, like he sees it, or he feels like it's in you know, encompassing him and taking him over, and maybe that's just part of his mental condition, and maybe someone else is watching him put the damn suit on, you know.
So if you're done.
No, go ahead, sorry.
So I did see, okay, it does sound like I know way more than I should, but like, he basically was doing some in the comics, some archaeological dig or something, and he came across a certain god that made a deal with him. I think he was about to die. They made a deal with him to basically possess him, which is also why he's like 4 different people. So, and that suit, I think, is that god coming through to be him. So
yeah, and that could be. So originally, he was like a mercenary. He was a soldier, and his like best friend, you know, kind of like killed him, and he was dying, and he found himself in this tomb of Khonshu, the Egyptian god, and same thing. He kind of like made a deal with them. It's almost very a la like the Juggernaut in the Gem of Sitorak, in a way, you know, like he gets, and it could be very much that is like the god coming in. You know, they haven't ever in the comics, it's not necessarily been like that, but Moon Knight has definitely evolved within the past, like since like 2014 and whatnot. His character is evolved to be I think they've really trying to pull away from this whole he's Marvel's Batman. That's kind of what everyone said for the past,
that's what I said.
Since the 80s. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm excited. Like the thing about these characters, it's really great about characters like Moon Knight and what's one of the newer characters that just came out that didn't have like a lot of like the Eternals. There's not a whole history that you have to stay strict to. Like they can kind of like dabble and do new things. Like, hey, look, man, there's really no diehard Moon Knight fans out there that are gonna like burn our buildings down if we don't do it exact. Like they can, and even in Shang-Chi's another one too. They could kind of be like, look, we're gonna take what we like, we're gonna move on, we're gonna retcon the character a little bit that fits our story, and good for them. It's not Iron Man, so don't,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think the biggest thing about this is that we're finally getting horror.
Yes,
obviously we're going to see that in the Doctor Strange movie, but the fact that we're getting this now is just the beginnings of what the Marvel MCU is going to be. Obviously he was in an interview, they talked about him, he wants the Midnight Sun. So bring on Ghost Rider. We're going to get a lot more of these horror characters in the future. We're getting the Werewolf by Night, Christmas or Halloween special.
We're getting Blade as well.
And Blade already.
There's talk about Blade showing up in the Halloween special, I think they said.
Yes.
Might be his first appearance.
Yeah, his true first appearance. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming, and we're only a week away. So we'll definitely be talking about it after 3 episodes. And then, of course, we'll do our final review on Moon Knight.
So quick question, though, Sade, for Moon Knight from the MCU, who would you like to see in his show? Like if there's supposed to be like a crossover character in this first season.
I feel like it would have to be so left field that like we wouldn't understand why he would be there. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Existing?
So there's rumors, though, and I don't know if this is true. There's rumors that Mark Ruffalo is supposed to make an appearance as, I don't know if it's Banner or as the Hulk, which seems really strange because there's not a lot of like Hulk Moon Knight, connections.
No, there is a comic actually that would make sense. Well, I mean, we'll see what they do with the show because I know that we're only talking about like what they did with the comics in the past, but obviously they'll take like a little inspo from it and then bring it over. But yeah, there was a comic I think where Moon Knight was with the Hulk. I don't know what issue it was, but where that was like a big thing for him, where I think where he gave more of his story, where he became bigger because of that. I could be wrong. Nobody come at me about it. But yeah. So
you're probably right.
That would be interesting if he would be in there. That would make sense if they were trying to go back to the history of him. Yeah.
I just want to watch these 6 episodes and not worry about who's going to show up. Specking. Yeah. I think that's the best thing.
Going and watching these episodes and the next day going to TikTok and seeing all the theories. That's like how I did WandaVision. That was that's how we were kind of figuring out it was Agatha all along. It was so good.
WandaVision was definitely the biggest specky one out of all of them.
That one blew my mind. It was that and Falcon and Winter Soldier are my top favorites. I mean, and Hawkeye too. Yeah, those are my 3. Anyway, yeah, no, that's all of them. But I digress.
All right, so we'll be definitely talking about that in a few weeks. What's going on with Moon Knight? But of course, let's end the podcast how we always end the podcast with what are we currently reading. So I'll start off this week. So I have an honorable mention. Honorable mention definitely goes to Venom Lethal Protector #1. I'm so happy because this is the way that Venom was for me in the 90s, pretty much all the way up until before Donny Cates took over. There was none of this like talking to the host. Like Venom never came out of his body, and very similar to what the movies are like now. This is literally just Eddie Brock, and the way he was, especially the way he talks during the issue, is like he is very much in tune with the symbiote. He speaks like they're a part. Like it's always we or Venom. And I really like that about the Lethal Protector issue. I think this series is some old school stuff. If you're an old school collector of Venom and know the storyline, you really will understand Venom in this miniseries. And of course, it's taken a few years ago because it's Eddie Brock as Venom. It's not the newer series. So
yeah, I was going to ask, where does it fall?
Oh yeah, it's falling far into the past.
Okay, because it's also done by David Michelini as well, like one of the co-creators who never gets any credit for Venom, dude.
Nope, unless people walk up to him with the Spider-Man comics. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. But my pick of the week, and this is a great series if anyone's reading it out there. It's coming out of, if you know, I've talked about this series in the beginning, the Robin series with Damian and the whole League of Lazarus. But the pick this week is the latest issue, and it just came out this week for Deathstroke Inc. because I'm really waiting for the Shadow War. It picks up kind of right after the league, the tournament on the Lazarus Island. It's got, of course, Respawn and also Ravager going after Deathstroke because currently he's kind of building this army for what's obviously going to be something that we've talked about here on the podcast, the Shadow War, big crossover event between Deathstroke, Batman, and Detective. But this one introduces, and so Respawn was first introduced in Robin issue number 1. Didn't really have a whole big background about him and didn't know what he was. But I'm basically going to spoil it. So if you haven't read it, it's too bad, so sad. But so Respawn is actually he is the son of Deathstroke and Talia.
Oh, so a new character. It's not one of like Jericho or what was the other one's name?
So he was created by Ra's al Ghul, and he looks like Damian, but he's got white hair. So basically what they did was they created him as a character, and so basically he's like Talia, mother is Talia, and what Ra's did was took Deathstroke's blood and created him when he was creating Damian, because you know Damian is like a not like physical birth like Talia. So when he was born, he has the abilities to kind of heal. So in the issue, they go over and they talk about how like when Damian was young and he would hurt himself and needed body parts or he needed to heal, they would actually take it from Respawn.
Damn, that's dark.
Wild. Yeah, it's really wild. So, and then of course the issue goes on with Ravager and Slade and Respawn. But I was really like, wow, because the Deathstroke Inc. series has been okay. I've been reading it because again, the leading up to the Shadow War, but this issue really was like, okay, I know where Respawn is coming from. And you got that if you read the Robin series, you get a little bit of like a back and forth here and there, like little tidbits of what's going on between like Ravager and Respawn, and like he doesn't want to be seen, and you really understand why he hated Damian throughout that entire tournament. So that's what am I currently reading. Guest Sade, what are you currently reading? What's something that people should be reading out there?
I have a few. I'm reading the new Batgirls, where it's like the 3 of them. That's cute. I like it. And then I'm also reading, it's an Image. It's Monkey Meat. It's an anthology. It's very weird. Like I don't know what's happening weird, but I'm obsessed. It's basically a island where they're literally making monkey meat, and there's this like it starts off with like this little flea character, and there's like some demon gods that are involved, and there's some like corporate business that's like controlling the island and the people that work there. And then there's like in the second issue there's like a boy, I don't know if he comes from like a wealthy family that's like you need to work and learn how to earn money, so then now he's working on this island. So then the first 2 issues like tied together. It's wild. I don't know what's happening. It's crazy each time. I'm here for it though.
Okay. That's an interesting read. I definitely need to check this out. Monkey from Image Comics. All right. And they're only, how many issues are out right now?
I think there's 2, if not 3. So it's pretty new.
All right. Anything else you're currently reading?
Well, I just finished up We Have Demons because I was delayed on the last one, and then I need to catch up on Clear and We Have Ghouls by Scott Snyder. So,
and those are on the Comixology.
Yep, app. Those are digital.
Are they connected at all? The We Have Demons and the We Have Ghouls?
No, they're all separate. So it's different creative team. Like it's Scott's running all of them, but he has different artists and creative teams working on each one. So none of them are connected. They're just
no shared universe or anything.
No. They're all different. So like one, like we had Night of the Ghoul is more horror, so it's like based off like classic horror, and it's based like it's literally a ghoul. So if you're a Supernatural fan, you'll know what that is. And then Clear, it's more of like what movie am I thinking of? It's kind of like Altered Carbon meets like a murder mystery detective type thing. It's how I'm just kind of like Altered Carbon, but yeah.
I love Altered Carbon.
I'm so sad it's over, but yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's what those 3 are. And then We Have Demons is about demons and angel
we
sword.
talked about it earlier. We definitely we'll definitely talk about it once all 3 issues, or if I decide to pick it up digitally, and then you and I will talk.
Yes.
Like you said, sooner rather than later.
That's what I said. So yeah.
Zach, what are you currently reading this week?
Oh man, so I don't really have anything like super spectacular. The issue I really liked this week was the recent issue of Noctera. I love Noctera so much. I think it's so great. And gosh, I can't. How do I talk about this stuff? I don't want to spoil it, but obviously one of the coolest characters in the Noctera universe plays a massive role in this issue, which you shouldn't be too surprised because they've been kind of building him up. He had his little one shot, obviously, and Blacktop Bill, but really cool. I love. Man, what is this like Scott Snyder like fandom right now? Apparently,
literally, that's all we're talking about.
Yeah, jeez, we all got boners for Scott Snyder right now.
Girl boner.
But yeah, so good. It's just great in the artwork. Oh my god, man! I mean, and I'm not an art guy, but it's just so good. Everything about Noctera is badass, and I'm so pissed they did that little hiatus with it, and I want them to go bi-weekly because I'm enjoying it so much. But
it's so good.
Noctera 8, I think it was 8.
Yeah, because they stopped after 6. They did the Blacktop special, came back for 7, and 8 would be the most current one. So.
I slept on that for a minute, and then I bought the trade, and then I read it in like a day, and I was like, okay, I'm so glad I read this now.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, Zach put me onto that because even though I'm a Snyder fan and Tony Daniels is one of my favorite artists, I just was like, I don't know, and then Zach came here to New Jersey sometime last year, and
that's right.
He picked up all the issues, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna pick them up too, and I'm glad. He talked about it, and that's what it is. Here on the podcast, when we always talk about books, we recommend stuff to people, and people are always telling us about it. Like, the Little Monsters. He talked about Little Monsters this week. I wrote down Clear and Monkey Meat. I definitely want to check out. Definitely want to check out Clear. It sounds interesting. Monkey Meat as well, so they'll be put on my list to whether I read them on Comixology or if I could try to find them in printed versions if they're out yet. I don't know, but cool. So season 2, episode 12. Thank everybody for checking out this week's episode. Again, Sade Paige, we really appreciate you coming on here for Women's Month. Again, drop all those different platforms that anyone can find you on so they can follow you before we get out of here.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I love chatting about comics. But you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, all by searching What Page Is It?
Awesome. Any other closing words before we get out of here, Sade?
What are my closing words? Go read your comic books that are staring at you on that TBR pile. There you go.
Zach. Well, thank you so much for being here. Jess and I always enjoy talking comics with each other, but that's pretty much what all of our conversations are. And so it's always nice having someone else because it's usually just Justin and I, even whether it's on here or on the phone or text message, we're always talking about comics. It's always nice to have someone else. So thank you so much for being with us this week for sure. And open invitation anytime you want to come back.
Oh, I will happily come back whenever, gentlemen. So holler at your girl.
Sweet. So for myself, of course, Zach and I talked about it earlier this year that we were going to be going to Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City in April. Ooh. Unfortunately, that's being canceled. So anybody that was looking forward to seeing us there, we are not going to be there. But
wait, the con's not being canceled.
No, the con's not being canceled.
Yeah, the con's not being canceled for anyone else who's going.
Yeah, we're just not going.
Yeah.
But I myself will be at WonderCon next weekend in Anaheim. So if anybody's going to WonderCon, who of course is checking out the podcast, make sure you see myself. I'll be walking around probably with our man Tivo from Lords of Longbox. Definitely repping the Comic-Con podcast out there in Anaheim. My first trip out there, far out west in the state of California. So appreciate it. Sade, thank you so much for being on here. As Zach said, you have an open invite to come back here anytime. And as the cons come around, hopefully I'll see you at some show here on the East Coast, being a New York, New Jersey, across the bridge. Thanks, everybody, for checking out this week's episode. We will be back next week with our final guest for Women's Month. Peace out, everybody.